having vegetation, so that way New Brunswick looks pretty when you drive down the streets. But a 10-foot buffer zone between neighbors is uncalled for. We really don't need 20 feet of a greenway or greenage between two parcels. As the old saying says, a fence makes good neighbors, not 20 feet of grass. In regards to section 6, parts 4 and 5, subsection I, electric only is incorrect and should be replaced with zero emission. That way, what you're writing includes electric and other types of technology, therefore not limiting design and innovation. And also, I'm now up to meeting at least number 4, and I have to question the reasoning for the change. I look around this room, and no one in attendance has been asking for the zoning change. No one is outside protesting. No one is out with bullhorns demanding change. So the question is why? My question really is, truck terminals have been historically in the I-2 zone since at least the 1950s. No one's asking for this change, and I really don't get it. So, in conclusion, if New Brunswick wants to be the hub city, then truck terminals should be able to exist as they have for at least the last 60 to 70 years. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else wishes to address the council?
One more before you shut it down. No, I'm letting them know before they hurry up and vote it, so you understand.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Frank Schassman, and I'm the owner of 107 Howe Lane. And that is a 6.5 acre piece of property. My survey shows me as a truck terminal, and the property is operated as a small truck terminal since 1955. I believe this proposed amendment impacts the industrial zone of New Brunswick negatively, very negatively. It reduces the potential land value, which impacts the tax base. An example would be the reduction of property value resulting in a $300,000 annual loss to the city tax base. 1007, Chelsea Avenue at a deed price of $21,800,000 with an annual tax base of $355,429. Our property has a circular value, but that value will be halved with this ordinance. It is not just our property, but other properties are also impacted adversely in value. To be sure, such tax losses would have a major impact on the city. We were originally told that this ordinance was to outlaw truck parking lots in New Brunswick. However, this ordinance does little to enforce that, and merely places a burden on certain businesses while not on others. If the planning board and the city council were to drive in this area, they would see many trucks parked at other businesses that are not truck terminals, warehouses, or have anything to do with trucking. Their primary use is storage. However, due to their primary use as storage, they will continue to be allowed to park trucks, trailers, etc. without penalty. Nor will they be subject to many of the requirements in this ordinance, including the security specifications in the ordinance. Moreover, there continue to be discrepancies in poor language in this document. If the goal is to prevent truck parking, then draft the law for truck parking and do not penalize truck terminals. The new version issues of the ordinance in the truck terminal section 6, page 2, provides that containers cannot be stacked more than 20 feet. While in the drayage area, page 3, it is 38 feet. Makes no sense. The specification for the distance to health facilities, schools, etc. is also troubling. As older buildings have been converted to health facilities while in an industrial zone, where other buildings, such as ours, by New Jersey environmental law cannot be converted. Lastly, the wind systems and solar panel farm also contained within the ordinance are frivolous, in my opinion, in that the land value in this area is too high and too dense to support such endeavors. It does not make any sense. The industrial area that is impacted by this ordinance cannot be redeveloped into affordable housing. Medical centers, or schools due to New Jersey environmental constraints. I'm talking only about a particular area that we're in, okay? We know this is a hot topic within the community, but it's simply not a legal option due to the environmental issues within the zone that the state is aware of and prohibits. This zone is a CEA, classified exemption area for chlorinated chemicals and vapor intrusions. As a matter of fact, there are my neighbors, two neighbors, they have from the state installed a depressurization system to extract those vapor intrusions. The industrial area of Brunswick has long been an area of trucking. It is within minutes of major highways, and trucks are necessary to provide jobs and provide people with the goods they require, groceries, medicines, Amazon deliveries, and the like. All of these goods are moved by trucks, and the area is well suited to this in truck terminals and drainage.
Thank you. Anybody else wishes to address the council on this ordinance? Seeing none?
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Castaneda.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Gaskins.
Yes.
Councilmember Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President Escobar.
Yes. Now we're going to go into ordinance 02201. This is a bond ordinance providing for various improvements to the water system by and in the city of New Brunswick in the county of Middlesex, state of New Jersey, appropriating $21 million, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $21 million bonds or notes to finance part of the cost thereof. I would like to have Mr. Wallace is here. I don't see him. Oh, he is there. If you could just give us a summation, I know that this ordinance is specific, is for several improvements. So we could talk a little bit about that and what we're looking for, right? With this improvement ordinance that we do.
This $21 million is basically for about 2 years worth of projects out in the distribution system largely. The city has roughly 100 miles of water mains. Some of them date back to 1894, 1895. The majority are about 120 years old. There's a number of projects that are going to be ongoing, like on Remsen Avenue with PSE&G doing other work. We're going to try to take advantage of some of these other projects, replace the water mains, and then the PSE&G, for instance, will end up repaving the streets. So there's probably about 16 or 17 million of the 21 million is geared towards just water main projects over the next couple of years. It funds some that we had planned for 22 that we didn't get off the ground. There wasn't the monies for. And then also projects in 23 and 24 taking advantage of other work that's going to be done in terms of improvements, grant monies, and things like that to bring the cost down a little bit. There are also a lot of water mains in the city. Not only are they 120 years old, they suffer from repeated water main breaks. We're targeting areas like that. There are also a lot of water mains that are undersized. We have issues with pressure and fire flows. So all of this is geared towards making the distribution system a little more robust. There'll also be some vehicle purchases in this 21 million. Some upgrades to security at the plant. And the SCADA system, the supervisory control and data acquisition, that is an ongoing, forever. We'll need upgrades as technology improves. So that's what this 21 million is kind of geared towards.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your answer. Any member of the council wishes to make a comment or have any questions for Mr. Wallace? At this point, we are preparing to open the public hearing on the ordinance only for up to 5 minutes. You may come up to the microphone and state your name and address. And first, you may approach.
We're ready now. Yes, once again, Danielle Moore. I have to say were various improvements, but is this something that'll make the water safer to drink? Because like I say, as a resident due to where I still wouldn't trust drinking the water anymore. I used to drink it at all times, but due to where, wow, and then another thing I'm surely scared about due to where once a repair is doing, same thing with PSE&G, with, hopefully doesn't happen with the water due to where, wow, once they repair the pipes, jacked up the price for what gas and everything. I surely hope for especially people I know who are here that will be speaking on situations with the price of water. So is it gonna jack up the price of water?
You mean that if it's going to increase the rates of the water?
Yeah, so we'd be paying more on our water bill.
If you remember last year, we adopted an ordinance that increased the rates.
Okay, but yes, to where, like I said, I'm seeing the same thing with PSG every time you improve something due to where, how I got a shocking notice, I'm like, wow, how could my bill be $264? I'm the only one in the house, and it wasn't electric, it was due to where it's saying, because they replaced all the gas pipes with all the roads. So please, my question is, wow, after with this, even though you just did the raise, are we going to expect a double header hit on this for people paying with water?
I cannot answer that to see. But the rate increase, I think it's effective, this year, right?
Yes.
So it's this year, but I cannot tell you that it's not going to increase anymore.
Well, like I said, I surely always hope for the best with fixing things, but like I said, wow, due to where with the spike of things, like I said, wow, to be one person in a household and $264, I'm like, wow, I hope the same thing doesn't happen with the water due to where now I just got the letter saying, oh, they're going to upgrade the meters and how that's going to go up. So I'm looking at you upgrading this, and like I said, wow, pretty soon, what the cost of living, like I said, wow, it's going to be outrageous, like prayers for people due to where it sounds good, you're making one thing good, but then like I said, you're making one thing super harder. And if you understand what I'm saying, just like I'll give you an example, like I said, ooh, I have more freedom because I don't take care of my mom no more. But like I said, ooh, the other side is, ooh, now my mom's not there with me. Ooh, I got more responsibility, if you understand what I'm saying. So please, let's look at things both ways. We're doing something good and not affecting people the other way, please.
Thank you, Ms. Ariel. Anybody else from the public wishes to address the council on this matter? Seeing no, the public portion part of the meeting is closed.
Move the ordinance.
Roll call.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Castaneda.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Gaskins.
Yes.
Councilmember Socorro Ludwig. Council President Escobar.
Yes. Now we're going into ordinance 02203. I'm sorry. This is an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the City of New Brunswick, Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 10.20, Handicap Parking, Section 10.20.010, Schedule 39, Parking Zones for Handicapped Persons, and Schedule 40, Parking Spaces for Handicapped Persons. This is to add new parking zones for handicapped persons, 66. Wallace Boulevard, 115 City Street, and 261 Port Robertson Boulevard. And adding one parking space for a handicapped person at 123 Joyce Gilmore Avenue. Any of my fellow councilmen and women would like to make a comment on that? We are getting ready to prepare the hearing for the comments for the public. So on this ordinance only, you have 5 minutes. Anybody who wishes to address the council on this particular ordinance, please step to the microphone, state your name and address. There's none.
Move the ordinance. Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Castaneda.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Gaskins.
Yes.
Councilmember Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President Escobar.
Yes, at this point, we're going to go ordinance 0220304. It's a bond ordinance providing for the water treatment plant's improvement project in and by the City of New Brunswick in the County of Middlesex, New Jersey, appropriating $36 million, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $36 million bonds or notes of the city to finance the cost thereof. This, Mr. Wallace, if you could just give us also a summation regarding this particular ordinance.
Yeah, probably for about the last 2 years, we've been designing improvements and upgrades to the water treatment plant. The basic portion of the water treatment plant dates back to 1916. There have been some improvements over the decades, but they haven't kept pace with emerging technologies, the kind of things that we now have to remove from water to make it safe to drink. So, you know, we've got to move from the early 1900s to 2023 now, you know. So this 36 million, that's not even the whole project. There's other monies that we got from the federal government for this. But we're gonna finally move the treatment plant into the 21st century with membrane technology. Kind of put us in a position to be able to treat water with some of the emerging contaminants that are being added to the list of contaminants that we have to remove. And it's going to be a major overhaul of the treatment plant. There is a lot of the treatment plant that is very, very old. And you know, you want to have a water utility, and it costs money to keep it up. You know, going back to the water mains, there's 100 miles of water main. It's going to be like $200 million to replace it all. So 21 million is just a drop in that bucket. With the treatment plant, same thing. It'll get us in a good spot for the next several decades. There's a couple of other things that are in terms of emerging contaminants. We'll have to add that maybe to the list 10 years from now with some other upgrades. But largely this will be replacement of the settling basins. Those date back to the 1930s. We're going to expand the membrane portion of the treatment plant. That is the current best technology for treating water. We're going to abandon the gravity filters, which are anthracite and sand, that date back to 1916. Just felt that it was too much money to put into filtration systems that are over 100 years old. You know, whatever money we're putting into that was just going to. So we're going to go towards membranes, looking at ozone. There are emerging contaminants that the only way to battle that is ozone. Ozone's not cheap. That's probably about 14 million of this upgrade. So you know, making water safe to drink by today's standards is not cheap. It's expensive. And you know, that's where this 36 million is going towards.
And so it seems that we're getting ready for the future. I mean, you're 2023, right? Great. So at this time, if any member of the public wishes to address the council on this ordinance, please step forward, state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Like I said, once again, Danielle Moore, due to where my concern is, wow, now, even though I saw the 21 million, the 36 million, you're saying it's going to really go up to 200 million. I'm like, wow, due to where people who pay for water, like, wow, get ready for another big raise to try to survive on. I'm like, wow, honestly, bottled water would be cheaper than what? Faucet water. But like I said, prayers for everything to be better, but I know the program, a fair or something I seen down at Boyd Park. I thank you for being honest with you using the word contamination with water, because like I said, after Boyd Park with the water department showing me examples going through sand, charcoal, how many different type of tubes that the water has to go through to make this to be clean and safe. I'm like, wow, when I seen that, it's good to see the truth, but like I say, hopefully with this new invention that you're saying, it will make the water, this is safer, but like I said, due to where I'm a person that goes and explore and investigate places where the water comes, and like I said, due to where, it still connects to the Raritan River going down to Trenton and all, and like I said, after seeing that and the way the water still mixes over, I still wouldn't trust it after going through all of each treatment that the water was. But like I said, to see 7 tubes of what the water to clean the water, wow, how much contamination is with this water. So good luck on that, where hopefully it won't have to go through that. But like I said, it puts a thing to my head, which plenty of people are here today speaking about, who has to pay rent and water due to where they're being cheated. And like I say, please, wow, I'm just really worried about the cost where everything's jumping up again. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Name and address, please.
Brent Miller, 590 George Street, Deer Hall. I wanted to make sure that the amount that you guys are spending on the water treatment plant is enough to accommodate for the expected growth of the state university throughout probably the next 10 years. Because obviously we know there's a lot of expansion with Rutgers, and of course, with a lot more people, we have a lot more problems with like the water quality. Of course, that's mostly on Rutgers. But I wanted to make sure that you guys are spending enough money to accommodate what could be seen as growth. Because I don't want future generations to have to go through contamination and other things like that.
Thank you. And I'm pretty sure we have experts in the water department. I'm pretty sure they're taking that into consideration. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Wallace.
Yeah, I mean, currently the treatment plant is capable of producing up to 20 million gallons a day. With this upgrade, we're going to remove some bottlenecks, and we can produce about 26 million gallons a day. And there'll be some room for expansion in the design, even though we won't fit it out.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wishes to address the council on this specific ordinance? Private name and address.
Good evening, Charlie Prattville. I live on Sedam Street here in New Brunswick, and I'm the editor of New Brunswick Today. I wanted to ask if any of these funds are going to go towards paying the 6-figure fine that the city received in 2013 for lying about the quality of the drinking water.
Mr. Carterville, that's out of the scope of this ordinance, so let's stick to the ordinance, please. Thank you.
I was asking if any of the money will go towards it.
Again.
So that's a no?
This is, if you heard Mr. Wallace's explanation, he said this is for the water treatment plant, so improvement that needs to be made.
For the record, that fine dates back to 2013, and congratulations. That is the oldest unpaid fine of any government in New Jersey according to the DEP, and it has not been addressed. So I think you should pay the fine. We're talking about moving to the 21st century, right? Well, that was 2013, and you still haven't made it right by paying the 6-figure fine.
Thank you, Mr.
that you
Carterville.
received.
Let's stick to the ordinance. Thank you so much for your comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishes to address the council? Having none, can I have a motion?
Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Castaneda.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Gaskins.
Yes.
Councilmember Secor Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President Escobar.
Yes, we have 2 ordinances on first reading. The first one is 022-305. This is an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the City of New Brunswick, Title 12, Streets, Sidewalk, and Public Places, Chapter 12.08, Street and Sidewalk Excavation. This is in reference to various changes.
Move the ordinance setting down March 1st, 2023 at 5:30 p.m., same date to be advertised.
My second motion.
Roll call.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Castaneda.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Gaskins.
Yes.
Councilmember Secor Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President Escobar.
Yes. We have ordinance 022-306. This is an ordinance to adjust the rates of compensation for school crossing guards in the City of New Brunswick.
Move the ordinance setting down March 1st, 2023 at 5:30 p.m., same date to be advertised.
Roll call.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Castaneda.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Gaskins.
Yes.
Councilmember Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President Escobar.
Yes. Now we're going into resolutions. We have resolutions 1 to 27, except resolution 15. Before we go into the resolutions, I would like to ask Mr. Shammy. One of the resolutions that is proposed tonight is resolution 15, which is a resolution in memorial of Edwin Kiff, 12. Edwin Kiff. So if you could just, Keith, so if you could just talk a little bit about that.
That's fine. I would like to read the resolution, if the council so desires.
Yes, please.
It's R-022341 by the municipal council. Whereas Edwin Ed J. Keith Jr. departed this life on January 17, 2023. And whereas born in 1929, Ed was a New Brunswick native, St. Peter's Grammar School and High School graduate, and lifelong resident. And whereas in February 1951, Mr. Keith entered the Army to serve in the Korean War, where he was ultimately awarded the rank of sergeant and led a platoon of 75 soldiers until his tour ended, serving our country with honor and distinction. And whereas Ed joined Local 432, now Local 9, plumbers and pipe fitters, as an apprentice, going on to become a journeyman and eventually serving as president of Local 9, always working for the betterment of his fellow union members during his 40-year career. And whereas, after his retirement in 1993, Mr. Keith continued his service to his community in the city of New Brunswick over a period of 28 years, during which time he served on the New Brunswick Zoning Board of Adjustment, as a commissioner of the New Brunswick Parking Authority, and as a member of the New Brunswick Traffic Commission. And whereas Ed Keith was a friendly man with a big smile, always stopping to say hello and willing to help someone in any way he could. And whereas Ed Keith was a devoted husband to his wife Cecilia of 64 years, whom he has survived, and father to his 4 children, grandfather to his 9 grandchildren, and great-grandfather to 5 great-grandchildren. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the New Brunswick City Council that the members of council express their gratitude and thanks for the life and service of Edwin J. Keith Jr. And be it further resolved that this resolution be engrossed in the permanent records of council, and that a certified copy of this resolution be presented to the family of Edwin J. Keith Jr. with deep affection and sincere appreciation of the members of council.
Thank you. Thank you. Resolution, I just want to say on the resolutions that we have, I just want to express my support to, especially Resolution 15, which is the one that talks about the construction of the Gilbert Commons, which is, I need my glasses. 14, I'm sorry, Resolution 14, I stand corrected. It's talking about related to the Gilbert Commons, which will provide affordable and safe housing for the senior population of our town. So I'm happy to see that. Any council member wishes to address, say any comment regarding the resolutions before we go into the public part? Okay, so we are getting ready to open the meeting to public comment on the resolutions only. You have up to 5 minutes per person, one time up. So at this time, if any members of the public wishes to speak on the resolutions only, please approach the council. State your name and address.
Yes, Danielle Moore. Well, first I will say, it was a hard day that day with the traffic meeting due to we're missing Mr. Ed, due to where he was one of the people with the traffic authority who would always speak up about things. I have to say, I was very, very disappointed in the city council that you waited this long to make an announcement of him due to where it's been a while that he had passed. where if anybody didn't go through the traffic meeting due to where that was when they might made the announcement with going on and all, I have to say, come on, where,
I just want to correct you on something, Ms. Danielle. Mr. Anderson did talk about it in one of our previous meetings. So maybe you missed that part.
like I said, due to where it's sat there here, but like I said, I don't recall, like I said, being that far back, but getting back to 15, due to where my disappointment.
We're not doing 15, it was held, so we're not talking about it. It's not part of the resolutions that we are working on tonight.
So you're saying this is,
It was held at the request of the administrator, the city administrator, so we're not talking about it. That doesn't, it has to, we can't even mention it at this point.
wow, all things that should be taken serious, I have to say, you council members don't take it seriously about too many people, what too many people say, if you ask me when it comes to certain
Do you have any
things.
questions about the resolution?
That's where, from due to where another disappointment, where, wow, I see not over $214,000, for the Department of Public Works. Wow, then I see 11, another, 56,000 for vehicles. Wow, please, out of all these last meetings, you have so much money. Good to see that you're getting vehicles. When are you gonna think about our employees? Honestly, one thing I didn't understand, and I had to do a double take looking, that was for Monday. Ooh, City Hall was closed, but why was our city workers still working?
Ms. Danielle, can you just state in?
Please, my point is, well, like I said, you're paying all this much money for equipment, but when are you gonna think about our hard-working workers?
Thank you, Ms. Danielle. Anything else on any resolutions?
And, as far as with number 10, what type of software for the police department?
Deputy Director Miller, number 10, that's the,
61,000 and change covers the Microsoft licensing that we use in the police department.
thank you.
Well, I didn't hear exactly what he said.
Microsoft.
Microsoft, okay.
And, go ahead.
It's the licensing.
The licensing of Microsoft. We have this coming up almost every year, Ms. Danielle.
Well, like I say that for far as where, due to where the police department needs to do more, thinking about the license plates with all this other stuff going on in New Brunswick, due to where, come on. I have to say, with you buying software for so many different things, I honestly, you really want me to tell you the truth? I have to say, it's making the police department more lazier, where they feel that they don't have to do anything to make anything safe in New Brunswick. And I'm pretty sure with you council members that are on Facebook, you've been seeing the complaints coming in about due to where, come on.
Ms. Danielle, can we just?
Police department needs to do
continue
better.
Stay on the resolutions at this point. Thank you.
Well, like I said, you need to think about the things that really make New Brunswick safe, and I have to say, I'm just very disappointed in you council members, because you're surely not. Thank you.
Ms. Danielle, thank you for your comments. Anybody else on the resolutions?
Yes, good evening, once again, Charlie Prattville. I wanted to ask about the Hildebrand Commons one, is that still on the agenda?
Yes,
Oh.
that's 14.
Can you explain the logic behind why you're taking this action tonight?
Mr. Dominguez?
So this project previously got a tax exemption, I want to say circa 2017. This is changing the tax exemption from a conventional 30-year tax exemption, long-term tax exemption, to what I guess is more normally considered a HMFA pilot under a different statute. It effectively does the same thing. We're going to be receiving 5% of revenue from the project that otherwise we may be receiving 0 from. And it supports 66 affordable units at 75 Nielsen Street.
Thank you, Mr. Dominguez.
And who owns the land, or who is going to own the land?
Mr. Dominguez?
The land for this project, similar to the entire complex over there, is owned by the Housing Authority. The proposed project would then be, the building itself, the improvements would be owned by Penrose or a subsidiary thereof, presumably this Hoffman Housing Urban Renewal Associates LLC, and they would be the manager and owner of the
Thank you.
So another discount for Penrose. So Hildebrand Commons, I want to be clear for people who might not know, this is the new name for the replacement of
Hoffman Pavilion.
Hoffman Pavilion, 75 Nelson Street. And I want to point out that that's something where the Housing Authority picked Penrose, put them in charge of it more than 10 years ago now. More than 10 years ago, and zero to show for it. So I just want to point out that that's we have a housing crisis going on, and for the past 10 years, New Brunswick Housing Authority and Penrose haven't been able to deliver anything. They took away units. They haven't been able to replace them, and John Clark's out with 2 other jobs, running 2 other housing authorities, and you saw, Madam President, that he didn't respond to my email about why the most recent New Brunswick Housing Authority meeting.
Concentrating on the resolution and anything else?
I'm entitled to make comments, so I'm making the comments that are relevant here to give people context on how the Housing Authority continues to fail the residents. And
It has nothing to do with.
I also want to ask about the Rogers Group accreditation item that's on the agenda, the item ending in 37. Have any of the council seen the standards that are used to accredit the police department, police accreditation, Rogers Group?
Number what, 8?
It ends in 37. There weren't enough agendas.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Accreditation,
So have any of the council members seen the standards that are used by the NJSA COP to accreditate the police department or accredit them?
It is an extensive, and last year we had a presentation, and there's an extensive process that they go through and standards that they need to abide by, and we have to comply with.
And where did you see that presentation? How did you get that information?
I answered it.
Okay, because that's funny, because when they were going through the accreditation process, I asked to see the standards. And they said, no, you can't have a copy, but you know what, if you come to the police station, we'll sit down and we'll talk about them with you. And then I said, okay, I'd like to record the conversation if that's okay, via email, and then no response. Patrick Evans, works for the police department still, right? No response, no response, no response, no response. Never honored his word to give me the meeting, to give me the information throughout the entire accreditation process. I'm sorry, that's a joke, especially since it came at a time when New Brunswick police were violating the body-worn camera mandate. We're not wearing body-worn cameras for 8 months longer than was legally allowed, and violating all sorts of other rules, running roughshod over the rules, and we can't even see the standards that they're supposedly passing. That is unacceptable. Why are we paying the Rogers Group? Did they advise the police department not to share the standards?
I'm not speaking about that because I don't have that information.
Can you, through you, for Deputy Director Miller, can he explain why the police didn't share the standards and didn't honor their word to meet with me?
I will ask him if he's ready to answer that question tonight, because I don't know if he has that information. Deputy Director Miller, do you have information related to the question that Mr. Cradible is asking?
Well, I don't think Mr. Carnival's questions have anything to do with the resolution.
Well, he's talking about because we gotta pay this for the accreditation, so see, he's asking about the accreditation process, while we pay if we begin according to
Rogers
him.
Group assists us in preparing the accreditation documents that we need every 3 years to keep up our accreditation.
Okay, thank you.
And why didn't Sergeant Evans honor his word
So that was
to
passed,
meet with me
so,
and share the standards?
so that's something that we need to answer. Thank you, Mr. Cradible.
I can ask who, I'm sorry?
I said that, thank you for your comments, thank you.
You said I could ask someone, though.
No. I was gonna say that, I was gonna ask you that, that this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I just wanted to, clear something in terms of the, when you were talking about the Hoffman Pavilion. I know that, you wanted to make that statement that they haven't done anything, but at least, we have to look forward, right? And forward, I think that we need to celebrate the fact that now we're getting this process going. And it's named after somebody who was an influence in our community, memorializing him and recognizing him. So thank you. Anybody else
Deserves the honor,
wishes to address the council on the resolutions?
One coming up.
On the resolutions only.
Hi, Linda Storkville, Park Boulevard. So on that same one, number 14, is Penrose, are they the same ones that run the senior buildings on Somerset Street that got piggyback with a second 30-year tax exemption?
I don't know if, Mr. Dominguez, does the Hoffman Carlson Urban Renewal Associates, is that Penrose? Do we know that?
I believe very confidently that that is in fact a subsidiary of Penrose for the development of this building. I can't say for sure if they own that building, but I do believe that they do own the ones on Somerset, Harvey Street area buildings as well. Those are also senior affordable public housing units like these.
Thank you. And they got a second 30-year tax exemption. I mean, I don't really see how this is working out for, what? I always have the same objection with all the tax exemption, is that they bypass the school system. As a long time public school system employee and parent with the children in the public schools, I think that's a shame that we habitually just automatically bypass the school system every time somebody does something in New Brunswick. And I think that, New Brunswick is an attractive place now, where we don't have to give away the chance to fund our school system in order to attract people to come, and like doing a pilot instead of their tax exemption. I don't understand bypassing the schools. And in some cities where they do these kind of agreements, they at least turn around and give some of the money to the public schools. So we're going to be in big trouble if the state ever pulls the plug on our schools, because we really don't contribute. I mean, it doesn't even look like we're trying. We just give everybody that comes a tax exemption, and then when the 30 years are up, we give them another one? That's the same company? And they weren't doing anything over there. I had people in the building, in the older building. I mean, they built a new building, but the older building, trust me, had problems that they were not addressing. And I just can't see why they get, like, so, there needs to be strings attached, there needs to be responsibility on the part of these people. It just looks like we're giving and they're not giving back. So, yeah, I don't think it's right.
Anybody else from the public wishes to address the council on the resolutions only? Having none,
Move the resolutions.
Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Castaneda.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Gaskins.
Yes.
Councilmember Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President Escobar.
yes. We're going now to the public portion, public comment portion of the meeting. At this time, does any of my colleagues wish to address or have any comments before we go to the public part of it? At this time, we're going to open the public portion part of the meeting. Just remember that any questions or any comments need to be directed at the council president, and if there's any way that, if there's any question I would address and accordingly, please to answer. We're going to get ready to open up. You have 5 minutes to talk to us, and it's one time up. So,
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Elmira Cordero, soy miembro del Proyecto Esperanza y trabajo con New Brunswick Tomorrow brindando educación y apoyo a los inquilinos.
Good afternoon, my name is Elmira Cordero. I'm a member of the Esperanza Project and I work with New Brunswick Tomorrow offering education and support to tenants.
Durante los últimos años, el Consejo Municipal y la ciudad han trabajado con nosotros para aprobar varias ordenanzas que benefician a los inquilinos, como los recibos de renta y las regulaciones de las facturas de agua.
Over the past few years, the City Council and the City have worked with us to approve various ordinances that benefit tenants, such as rent receipts and regulations around water bills.
Sin embargo, muchos inquilinos en New Brunswick todavía enfrentan muchos desafíos y pagan demasiada renta para apartamentos en malas condiciones. En diciembre vinimos al Consejo para compartir nuestras preocupaciones sobre el aumento de renta de 5.5% permitido para el 2023. Ustedes respondieron que averiguarían qué se podía hacer.
However, many tenants in New Brunswick still face many challenges and pay too much rent for apartments in poor conditions. In December, we came to the council to share our concerns about the rent increase of 5.5% permitted, allowed for 2023. You responded that you would look into what could be done.
Desde entonces hemos trabajado como Proyecto Esperanza y la Asociación de Inquilinos para desarrollar recomendaciones más amplias. Reconocemos que el aumento de los costos de vida es una crisis en todas partes de nuestro estado y país. Al mismo tiempo, New Brunswick incluye muchas familias inmigrantes y de bajos recursos que sufren esta crisis de manera urgente.
Since then, we have worked as the Esperanza Project and Tenant Association to develop broader recommendations. We recognize that the increase in housing costs is a crisis throughout the country, throughout the state and the country. At the same time, New Brunswick includes many immigrant and low-income families that suffer from this crisis in an urgent manner.
Según las estadísticas del gobierno federal, el 65% de los inquilinos de New Brunswick gastan más del 30% de sus ingresos en los costos de vivienda, que se considera sobrecargados por los costos de vivienda, y el 42% gastan más de la mitad de los ingresos en los costos. Estos porcentajes son los más altos de los de las ciudades de Newark, Perth Amboy, Trenton, Camden y otras comunidades urbanas de New Jersey.
According to federal government statistics, 65% of New Brunswick tenants spend more than 30% of their income on housing costs, which is considered housing cost burden, and 42% spend more than half of their income on housing costs. These percentages are higher than percentages in Newark, Perth Amboy, Trenton, Camden, and other urban communities in New Jersey.
En mi posición, escucho muchos casos de inquilinos que están preocupados por cómo van a pagar la renta y los biles, o que enfrentan un posible desalojo. No hay una solución fácil, pero creemos que nuestras recomendaciones ofrecen soluciones importantes que ayudarían a proteger los inquilinos vulnerables.
In my position, I hear many cases of tenants who are worried about how they're going to pay the rent and bills, or that are confronted with a possible eviction. There's not an easy solution, but we believe that our recommendations offer important solutions that would help to protect vulnerable tenants.
Algunas de mis compañeras van a compartir las recomendaciones. Creemos mucho en la comunidad que estará de acuerdo con lo que proponemos. También hemos comenzado una campaña para colectar firmas para demostrar el apoyo que existe para estas recomendaciones. Esperamos poder trabajar con ustedes otra vez para ponerlas en acción. Gracias.
Some of our colleagues are going to share the recommendations. We believe that much of the community will be in agreement with what we propose. We are also starting a campaign to collect signatures to demonstrate the support that exists for these recommendations. We hope to be able to work with you again to put them into action. Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es María Bravo y pertenezco al Proyecto Esperanza y soy de Asociación de Inquilinos.
Good evening. My name is Maria Bravo, and I belong to the Esperanza Project and the Tenant Association.
Como dijo mi compañera Selmira, muchos de los inquilinos estamos preocupados por las rentas altas y los aumentos de renta. El aumento de renta de 5.5% que se permitió para el 2023 ya está afectando a muchas familias trabajadoras de New Brunswick, ya que están luchando por pagar la renta y las facturas de vivienda. Esto causará que más familias sean desalojadas o tengan que reducir sus gastos en necesidades como la comida, para realizar y estar al tanto con su renta mensual.
As Samira said, many tenants are worried about the high rents and rent increases. The rent increase of 5.5% that was allowed for 2023 is already affecting many working families in New Brunswick that were already struggling to pay the rent and housing costs. This will cause more families to be evicted or have to reduce their expenses on necessities like food to be able to pay and be on top of monthly rent.
El 80% de los residentes de New Brunswick son inquilinos, uno de los porcentajes más altos del país. Otras comunidades vecinas tienen aumentos anuales máximos más bajos que el 5.5% de New Brunswick. Franklin lo tiene al 3% y hace unos meses Perth Amboy también lo bajó al 3%.
80% of New Brunswick residents are tenants, one of the highest percentages in the whole country. Other neighboring communities have annual permitted maximum rent increases lower than New Brunswick's 5.5%. Franklin's is 3%, and a few months ago, Perth Amboy also lowered it to 3%.
También es importante reducir el piso mínimo para los aumentos de renta permitidos durante muchos años. A los propietarios de New Brunswick se les permitió aumentar la renta en un 2.5% anual, incluso cuando la inflación era más baja.
It's also important to reduce the minimum floor for permitted rent increases. For many years, New Brunswick landlords were permitted to increase rent by 2.5% annually, even when inflation rates were lower.
Para proteger la gran mayoría de los residentes de esta comunidad, que son inquilinos, y prevenir más desalojos, es necesario frenar los aumentos altos de renta.
To protect the great majority of residents of this community that are tenants and to prevent more evictions, it's necessary to put a brake on high increases of rent.
Sabemos que tal vez sea demasiado tarde para cancelar el aumento de este año, pero pedimos que tomen acción para congelar la renta en el 2024 y cambiar la ordenanza de control de renta para bajar el aumento máximo permitido a una escala de entre 0% y el 3% basado en la inflación a partir del 2025. De lo contrario, cada vez más familias tendrán que sacrificar otras necesidades para quedarse en su hogar. Gracias.
We know that it may be legally too late to cancel the rent increase for this year, but we ask that you take action to freeze rents in 2024 and change the ordinance, the rent control ordinance, to reduce maximum permitted rent increases to a scale between 0 and 3% based on inflation starting in 2025. If not, more families will have to sacrifice other necessities to be able to stay in their homes. Thank you.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Cristina Paredes. Participo en el proyecto Esperanza, vivo en la 203 Seaman Street.
Good evening, my name is Cristina Paredes. I participate in the Esperanza project and live at 203 Seaman Street.
Pertenecemos al grupo de inquilinos y la comunidad en general. Hay mucha historia de inquilinos que han sufrido abusos por parte de los propietarios y encargados que se aprovechan de las familias.
In the tenant group and the community in general, there are many stories of tenants that have suffered abuses at the hands of landlords and property managers that take advantage of families that don't know their rights or that are afraid to denounce, to report abuses.
Bueno, de las familias que no conocen sus derechos y que tienen miedo a denunciar los abusos. Sabemos que hay dueños responsables, pero también lamentablemente hay demasiado que piensan que pueden salir impunes de estos abusos.
We know that there are responsible landlords as well, but unfortunately, there are too many that think they can get away with these abuses.
Actualmente la penalidad para los propietarios que violen el control de renta es devolver lo que cobraron de más y perder la posibilidad de aumentar la renta por 2 años.
Currently, the penalty for landlords that violate rent control is to return what they've overcharged and lose the possibility of raising the rent on the affected tenants for 2 years.
Pero no ha sido suficiente para disuadir a los propietarios abusivos.
But it has not been sufficient to dissuade abusive landlords.
Y eso afecta a los inquilinos cuyas quejas han sido resueltas por la Junta de Control de Renta.
And this consequence only affects those landlords those tenants whose complaints have been resolved by the Rent Control Board.
Pedimos que la ciudad tome las siguientes acciones para dejar en claro que va a defender a los inquilinos que son víctimas de los cobros ilegales.
We ask the city to take the following actions to make it clear that they will defend tenants who are victims of illegal overcharging.
Imponer una multa significativa además de la renta de vuelta al inquilino.
Impose a significant fine in addition to the overcharged rent that is returned to the tenant.
Si el propietario tiene otras unidades de alquiler, avisar por escrito a los otros inquilinos que el propietario ha sido declarado culpable de cobrar de más y que deben denunciar si creen que se les ha cobrado de más también a ellos.
If the landlord has other rental apartments, other rental units, serve notice in writing to the other tenants, that the landlord has been found responsible for overcharging and that they should also submit a complaint if they believe they have been overcharged.
Considerar en más casos remitir a los propietarios abusivos a la Corte Municipal por posibles consecuencias adicionales.
Consider in more cases referring abusive landlords to municipal court for potential additional consequences.
Estas consecuencias no afectarían a los dueños que cumplen con sus deberes.
These consequences would not affect those landlords who are fulfilling their responsibilities.
Hace algunos años el Consejo defendió a los trabajadores vulnerables al aprobar una ordenanza para hacer más fuertes las consecuencias para los empleadores que fueran declarados culpables de robo de salario. Ahora es el momento de hacer lo mismo para defender a los inquilinos vulnerables. Gracias.
A few years ago, the City Council defended vulnerable workers by approving an ordinance to make stronger consequences for those employers who were found guilty of wage theft. Now is the time to do the same to defend vulnerable tenants. Thank you.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Ricardo García, soy miembro del Proyecto Esperanza y de la Asociación de Inquilinos.
Good evening, my name is Ricardo Garcia. I'm a member of the Esperanza Project and the Tenant Association.
En el grupo de inquilinos nos enfocamos en educarnos sobre nuestros derechos y las leyes de vivienda. Sabemos que la ciudad tiene un sistema de registración de viviendas rentadas y una página web donde se puede encontrar algo de esa información, la cual es muy útil.
In the tenant group, we focus on educating ourselves about our rights and housing laws. We know that the city has a system of rental registration and a website where information about this rental registration can be found, which is very helpful.
Pero en algunos casos, los dueños no proporcionan la misma información en forma clara con sus inquilinos o le incluye en contratos en inglés que son difíciles de entender. Por eso a veces no entendemos los cargos que nos tocan o si se han reportado esos cargos en la registración de las unidades con la ciudad.
But in some cases, landlords do not provide the same information in a clear way with their tenants. or it's included in leases in English that are very difficult to understand. Because of that, sometimes we don't understand the charges that we're responsible for, or if those charges have been reported in rental registration with the city.
Pedimos que la ciudad haga que los propietarios proporcionen a sus inquilinos en forma bilingüe y entendible la información dada a la ciudad para la registración de sus unidades.
We ask that the city require landlords to provide to their tenants in a bilingual and understandable form the information that is given to the city for rental registration.
La Oficina de Control de Renta debería crear un formulario bilingüe y sencillo que capte esta información y requerir que los dueños lo utilicen para dar la información en forma transparente a sus inquilinos. Se supone que los propietarios ya deben proporcionar cierta información a los inquilinos, pero esto aclararía esa responsabilidad y la haría más útil para los inquilinos que hablan español.
The Rent Control Office should create a bilingual and simple form that captures this information and require landlords to use it to share the information in a transparent way with their tenants. Landlords supposedly are already required to provide certain information to tenants, but this would clarify that responsibility and make it more useful for those tenants that speak Spanish.
En mi experiencia personal, yo he rentado por varios tiempos con un dueño y con una compañía.
In my personal experience, I've rented for many years in New Brunswick, once with an individual owner and with a company.
Entonces, las formas de los contratos son difíciles de entender. Yo sé que son cosas legales también, pero chequeando la información que ustedes tienen en la página, se me hace que es ahí donde ellos pueden abusar de los inquilinos.
And many times we know there are legal documents, but leases can be very difficult to understand and to find the appropriate information. And looking at like the web portal of the city is where we can start to see that sometimes there's a disconnect between the information provided to tenants. Thank you.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Verónica Nolasco y pertenezco al Proyecto Esperanza y a la Asociación de Inquilinos.
Good evening, my name is Veronica Nolasco and I belong to the Esperanza Project and the Tenant Association.
Como inquilinos, cuando gastamos gran parte de nuestro ingreso en la renta y otros costos de vivienda, no tenemos el apoyo necesario para ejercer nuestros derechos. Corremos un mayor riesgo de desalojo.
As tenants, when we spend a large part of what we earn on rent and other housing costs, or we don't have the necessary support to exercise our rights, we run a greater risk of eviction.
Y cuando los inquilinos reciben una orden de desalojo, o a menudo no sabemos qué hacer, las familias de bajos recursos no tenemos los recursos para contratar un abogado que nos ayude a navegar por el sistema judicial. Los servicios legales disponibles actualmente son limitados y solo están disponibles para residentes como estatus legales.
When tenants receive an eviction notice, many times we don't know what to do. Low-income families don't have the resources to hire an attorney that would help us to navigate the judicial process. The available legal services, currently available legal services are limited and only available to those residents with legal status.
Un número creciente de lugares como Newark y Nueva York han comenzado a corregir este desequilibrio, brindando representación legal gratuita para inquilinos de bajos ingresos en caso de desalojo, sin importar su estatus migratorio. Los resultados han demostrado que es mucho más probable que los inquilinos puedan permanecer en sus hogares con esta ayuda.
A growing number of places, such as Newark and New York City, have started to correct this imbalance by offering free legal representation for tenants, low-income tenants in eviction cases, no matter their migration status. The results have shown that it is much more likely that tenants can stay in their homes with this help.
Creemos que los inquilinos aquí necesitamos y merecemos esta ayuda también. Presentamos esta idea al alcalde y a los representantes de la Oficina de Control de Renta y y sugerimos que probablemente sea una iniciativa que se maneja mejor a nivel del condado. En eso estamos de acuerdo.
We believe that tenants here also need and deserve that help. We presented this idea to the mayor and to representatives from the Rent Control Office, and they suggested that this is an initiative that is probably handled best at the county level. On that point, we're in agreement.
Pero New Brunswick puede ayudar a avanzar este importante objetivo, persuadiendo al condado de Middlesex que considere la idea y escuche las voces de los inquilinos afectados. Mantengamos a las familias en sus hogares y fuera de las calles. Gracias.
But New Brunswick can help advance this important objective by persuading Middlesex County to consider the idea and to listen to the voices of affected tenants. Let's keep families in their homes and off of the streets. Thank you.
Before we have the next speakers are coming, I just wanted to make sure that thank you to those who are from Esperanza for bringing those concerns. We hear you, and I will say that we will be gathering ourselves some information, and we are committed to finding the best course of action and a recommendation that not only benefits tenants, but it also has to benefit the landlords. So we'll see what happens, but we're going to take that into consideration. Thank you. Para dejarles saber, gracias por venir y expresar sus sugerencias y sus preocupaciones. Como el consejo, lo único que puedo decir es que vamos a tomar en consideración su información, vamos a obtener más información nosotros sobre este tema y vamos a buscar la mejor forma de solucionarlo, ¿no? Y llegar a una recomendación que no solo sea beneficiosa para los inquilinos, sino también para que sea beneficiosa a los propietarios de la ciudad de New Brunswick. Okay? Gracias. Anybody else from the board wishes to address the council?
Hello, ahora en New Brunswick, cuando usted va a rentar un apartamento por 2 cuartos, $2,000.
Gracias, señor. Gracias por
It's out of control. Y la gente solo gana $400. For 2 rooms, $2,000. Ask the people. You want to rent the apartment for 2 small room, $2,000 in New Brunswick. It's crazy.
Gracias.
$2,000 for that's more expensive.
Thank you.
Greeting people. $2,000 for 2 small rooms.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Brent Miller, University student, 590 George Street, Clothier Hall, Rutgers University. I wanted to check on 4 traffic situations around the university campus. I know that it might not be in your jurisdiction, but I wanted to give you guys a heads up on this. So the corner of College Avenue and Bishop Place, right next to Mettler Hall in that area, there's a giant blind spot whenever you take a left from College Avenue onto Bishop Place. There's been multiple close calls with cars, multiple close calls with pedestrians. There's been a couple of accidents there. I just wanted to make the city council aware that that's been an ongoing problem, and that's really a problem, especially with the amount of amateur and college drivers that are there that don't know to check. So I'd like to see some help in terms of something with like reflective tape, something with like a blind spot mirrors, something to help us out there. There's also the condition of the bus lane that's on College Avenue that goes southbound from Huntington Street down to Hamilton. That thing has multiple potholes. It isn't even effective because the right mirror on all of the buses that go down College Avenue, if they were to be in that bus lane, their mirrors would be hit by all of the signs that are down there. So I'd like the city council to figure out a way if we could make College Avenue one way, move the bus lane, move the signs, do something like that. 3rd, Bishop Place between College Avenue and the George Street ramp to go to Route 18. That is in desperate need of repainting and repaving. There are no crosswalks whatsoever. There are multiple potholes everywhere on that street. And as a resident of Clothier Hall who has to cross Bishop Place to get in classes and everything, it's extremely dangerous compared to George Street, which is still an accident waiting to happen, but still has crosswalks and everything to show people that there are pedestrians there. 4th, I'd like to check on the status of the Seminary Place restriping and repaving. The city repaved it at the beginning of the semester, which was in September, and they still haven't repainted it. So it still is a complete black pavement with no markings whatsoever, and students just kind of have to walk out and pray that they don't get hit by a car. So I just want to check the status on that.
Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you. Anybody else wishes to address the council? Mayor Adams?
Eric Nill, 28 Exeter Street, Old Bridge, New Jersey. Opening first up with continuation of updates we have on Code Blue shelters, which continually disappoint in their conditions. Because recently learning from community members who have been using the Code Blue shelters that instead of having blankets and sheets laundered consistently, they are now getting space blankets every night so that it can be easily disposed of and things like that. Not particularly comfortable sleeping. I don't know if y'all use space blankets to sleep at night. I'm assuming not. I'm assuming y'all got some nice cotton or something, right? Something nice, right? Nice high thread count. So yeah, they're using space blankets, and apparently the workers there, I'm assuming by some order or another, are opening windows and turning up the heat at 5:30 to gently encourage people to leave during freezing conditions. I'm sure that's how you all start your morning, right? That's a lovely, nice breath of fresh air to wake y'all up, right? Love that. So just to continue, y'all, there's zero oversight, there's zero transparency in any of this, and it just continues. I would also just like to focus on, I don't know, I really find like all of this, like, what's in the pomp and decorum of all of this just so laughable. Because once again, these conditions just continue to get worse. There's no oversight, and that's how you want it. You want it to kind of brush under the rug, because eventually it's going to be warm enough and y'all won't have to think you're not going to have to deal with this anymore, because, oh, Code Blue's done. But that's not going to be the case one way or the other. But y'all are terrible at this. Y'all are so bad. Like, it just continually, there's just such like a lack of humanity in this consistently. And it's across the board with everything. It's not like it's just for the people who are houses and everything. It's for the sanitation workers who get pigs into their houses and that's what, and that gets denied. And then a little worm like Tom Valenti gets to, oh sorry, no, I think I can play the room a little bit. Is there anything against that? I can't turn my head in this. I think I'm allowed to.
To address your comments to me.
I'm addressing everyone. So I think it's just consistently across the city that these workers, like that they get their, basically just attacked for what, doing things on their own time at this point, and then they get threatened with like loss of pay, loss of job, all this other shit. And they're saying that when they go to contest this, they get, oh, city administrators telling them they're gonna get written up, right? It is a joke, honestly. This is a joke. Like, I think like the idea that there is this this system in place where you think like, oh, I'm gonna, like, you lie to like these people and to yourselves consistently with it. You're not gonna do anything unless like you're forced to at the end of the day. And I think we have to at the point, like with this, because like I said, these conditions continually get worse. You're giving them space blankets, next year you give them napkins to sleep with. After you're opening the windows, next week they're gonna break the windows instead. I really don't know where it ends with all this. I mean, it ends where it begins, like it ends with y'all, because this is consistently just, I think, number one, lack of transparency. You want it that way. You want people to not be able to see what's actually happening, and that's why the Band of Volunteers feels like extremely pointed at that point. We were the only real oversight at that time to what was happening in, like, regards to the conditions of the shelters. Now we have to poll people, see the people who are going there. How are the conditions changing? And it's changing for the worse. So I think there is just no, I don't know, just no oversight for any of y'all. Really feels like it's just a wild west in here. I'm gonna give the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Mr. Julius?
While I always appreciate any comments, even criticisms from the public, I would ask that any kind of personal attack on any member of this city employee or anyone even here It's not appropriate, and I ask that that be
My
restrained.
recommendation.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you. Anybody else? Please address the council.
Hi, yes, Danielle Moore. I'm going to start off with, like I say, I'm going to speak up for Ms. Brittany and the workers, and I will tell you why you won't get a raise. If some of you have been investigating due to we're part of Mayor Cahill and back through time, where I'm surely learning a lot of things, how New Brunswick has always been racist towards black folks. And like I said, being a black person living here 46 years, and what I still continue to see due to where with slavery, that's what Mayor Cahill's doing, treating our workers like slaves due to where don't want to pay. Like I said, I'm on disability. I told you what, I had to struggle bringing up $5,400 in two months due to where for a 3-bedroom but I did it. But like I said, they're working 7 days a week and what? Not nothing? But one thing I didn't understand, why was City Hall closed Monday, where you had the workers out there, school was closed? What? Stop using our people as slaves. Come on, like I said, we need to make peace and make everything where we work together. And one thing due to where, like I said, racism, and I keep seeing racism in this here, who you yell at, who you put out, how quick you do it. Yes, and I'm paying attention to it. And like I said, one thing, please, put it to the police department. Wow, you might as well say, oh, do not call police department unless whoever you're calling is black. I'm tired of seeing things, and I'm not the only one. And I thank every resident for sending me videos disproving the racism with New Brunswick Police Department. What, big fight Saturday morning, Somerset Street in front of the pub, 30 people out there fighting? Ooh, police come, ooh, everything all right? Ooh, left quicker than what? Why, just because they wasn't black? And they were able to continue for fighting? I'm seeing too much racism. Come on, like I said, black history, due to where we weren't allowed to do it in New Brunswick, due to where what? You had it more restrict, it wasn't overpopulated, didn't have problems, because how you pressured black people. And that's how you scare them out of New Brunswick, ticketing them to do this and that, but I'm not the one, because New Brunswick's not gonna scare me. Like I said, each one of them races is gonna have their day, due to where, come on. And I asked you before, come on, treat equal. Why are they allowed to do things that commit crime, walk in Walgreens, steal something, nothing to be done? Come on. Stop judging people by the color of their skin, and like I said, follow the law. Because honestly, with all the videos that I'm receiving, ooh, how can someone pee right here in front of New Brunswick Police Department? Ooh, how can this one drink beer right in front of the police officer? What, they don't do anything? Why, because they're not black? And like I said, all the things due to where I'm getting videos from other people, different kind, like I said, racist. But like I said, you mess with the wrong black one, and I tell you, I will say it in my prayers that each one of you racists have your day. If you can't treat people you don't belong on this earth. But like I said, I'm tired of seeing things done. Where wow, and nothing's being done, they're done the same thing, and I'm tired of being told due to where I can't do something by you council members. Well, if it's the law, I can't do it. You need to be telling the police department that what, it goes for everyone. Like I said, as a black person, you wasn't able to sell things and still won't allow it without a permit. But wow, you let other people do it every day? They don't have vendor's license? I'm getting plenty of videos of different things where, so, like I said, treat people equal. What? A black person wasn't able to ride through New Brunswick with tinted windows. What are these new head caps now? I don't know, tinted where you can't even read the license plates anymore. What is New Brunswick allowing that for? I know every unmarked car in New Brunswick, I'll give you a clue, KBY, and they surely aren't police cars, but what are these new tinted covers with all these different hit and runs, like sunglasses over your light, the plates? Why are you allowing it? Why? Because they're not black, like I said. When New Brunswick was majority black, white, Spanish, everything was more restricted. It was cleaner, less crime, less motor vehicle crashes, no garbage, no rats. It wasn't like this. Now you do it the same way you did it to us, the same people that was in charge then, same people in charge now, New Brunswick would be a better place. And like I said, due to where, come on, You didn't allow 15 to 20 people living in a household. What, we only have 5 to 6 in a household? But what do you do? But honestly, now I see why. Just like I said, I'm having financial difficulties being putting up over $5,400 and then, like I said, paying $2,000 a month. Like I said, who knows? Now that the Lord is blessing me with my back, now I can sit down better. I haven't even had my neck surgery yet. Maybe I will be able to get a part-time job or do something now. But like I said, the cost of living, it is going up. But like I said, please, like I said, justice equal, because I surely see too much racism.
Thank you, Ms. Daniel. Name and address, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alexandria Harris. I am a resident of Sayreville, and I also rent in New Brunswick. I'm here to call attention for a couple of things. One, I'd like to extend my support for the recommendations that Esperanza folks have made. Speaking as my past experience, once my landlord tried to raise the rent more than the rent cap allowance as set by the city, and I stated that that was not legal and that she can only raise it to the cap that was set for that year, which I believe was like 2.8. Also, another issue I'd like to extend is I ask for the council to please conduct a traffic study for the intersection of Jones and Saddam Street. This is a very busy intersection. There's only stop signs for the Jones Avenue, but not for Saddam Street. And there's a litany of vehicle accidents that occur on that intersection. I know that because I cross this street all the time. I rent in that area. So I do ask, please, for at least stop signs to be put into the Saddam Street for both directions. Also for the road intersection to elevate the pavement of that road. This is I forgot what it's called in urban planning, but once you do that, that causes drivers to slow down because their view is slightly ever so obstructed, and so it just makes them to slow down. Please, there's a lot of speeding. Also at night, it's very dark and dangerous to cross the road. I also would like to say that I do not own a car. I'm too poor to own a car, and probably will be for the rest of my life. I can't afford cars, so I walk. And I take the bus. There's insufficient bus transportation across the city. As many routes there are in New Brunswick going through, it's still not enough. I'm asking for the council to please consider expanding your free shuttle service and make those as tangible and consistent routes that the city is supplementing to the current county and state lines that are happening. I also ask for the council to please urge the county to reinstate all of the county lines. Only, I believe, one of them was reinstated, not all of them, and to increase the service. So to at least have them running every half hour, not every hour. It is inconvenient and not realistic as the city redevelops and welcomes even more residents. We're going to have even more congestion, so we do need to. We're already behind on public transportation services, but we need to step it up even more as we have more high-rises enter the city. I also would like to address improving cold blue shelters. This is something that is a popular topic at these meetings. Previous meeting, a lot of volunteers, including myself and community organizers, who may not be attending the same institutions or groups as a council member here or other residents, we still speak from experience with talking to the homeless. And so I just wanted to say that there are reports of the workers harassing folks who enter the shelters. Also, I'm asking for the city council to urge the county, Middlesex County, to have the shelters open 24/7. This is something that is already happening in other parts of the state. We can also implement that here. I understand that city waits for code blue from the county. Please urge the county to instate a 24/7 service for the shelters. Also would like to bring attention to limited laundry services. Only once a month can the homeless folks wash their clothes at Christ Church. It's called the Laundry Love Program, only once a month. My dryer at my apartment hasn't been working for over a month. So I haven't been able to wash my clothes at my apartment, but I can have it elsewhere. I have the money to do so. Other folks don't. But washing your clothes once a month, it's inhumane and inconsiderate. If the city cannot host another laundry service, then please consider supported financially for this the Laundry Love program to extend to multiple days, at least once a week. And also, I would like to ask for the council to please put it to a vote at the next meeting. Please put it on your agenda to vote on the resolution against the Woodbridge Power Plant. As you may not know, Governor Murphy was in New Brunswick and he has expedited the timeline for clean energy to 2035 from originally 2050. 12 government bodies, including my hometown and my Sayreville Environmental Commission, Highland Park, Rahway, Somerset County Commissioners, it's a litany right now, have signed on the resolution taking a stand against the Woodbridge Power Plant. I just ask for you guys to put it to a vote so we can know what your stance is. Thank you.
The Jones and Sedan.
Yes.
It is not possible to have a stop sign on Sedan Street as it's an emergency street.
Okay.
I have gotten oversized stop signs, I'm sure you saw those, on Jones Avenue. Obviously, education of drivers would be good too. Obviously, we're working with different things because once in a while there's just too many accidents there. So we put up those orange sticks to try to keep it a little bit clearer so people can see coming up and down. We've talked to the bus company, and we basically tell the company when buses from the coach come down, if they're not allowed on that Sedan Street. So we're trying to work on that a little bit.
The buses aren't really the issue, it's like the speeding vehicles, really. I would love for buses to come and down Sedan Street if they will service even more, but it's the speeding cars.
Thank you. Just continue. Next. Name and address.
Yes, hi there. My name is April Nicholas. I live on 143 Sedan Street, New Brunswick. I have a few different issues that I'd like to speak to, echoing a lot of the concerns that have already been raised tonight. I agree that there needs to be better accountability and better conditions for the Code Blue homeless program, but I also think it's really important to emphasize that we need a permanent housing solution. Just allowing people indoors for the coldest evenings is not enough. People need stability, people need dignity, and we need to be putting more resources towards a permanent solution to the housing crisis in New Brunswick, and especially for the most vulnerable residents who are unsheltered. I also want to echo what the previous speaker said about passing a resolution against the proposed dirty gas power plant in Woodbridge. I think that's a critically important issue. It may seem far away because it's not within the confines of our municipality, but it greatly affects the air quality that the residents here are going to breathe. And it's incredibly urgent given that the state is trying to push through that project. So I'd also like to urge that the council take that up at their next meeting and follow what many other municipalities in Middlesex County have done and urged the state to not allow that project to move forward. I also want to, and because I am a resident of Sedan Street, something that I'm very aware of is the traffic concerns there, and also specifically the bike lanes. Just the markings are very worn away. I lived there for over a year before I even realized that there was a bike lane because there were always cars double parked over it and the markings were almost entirely gone. So I really urge something to be done about that so that there's more respect for the people who are trying to use that bike lane, and biking is safer, more people will actually be able to do it in our city. And then I also want to raise the issue about the mistreatment of sanitation workers in New Brunswick. I know that there's been a lot of workers that have been trying to organize for their rights, and that some of those workers have been retaliated against. I really think it's important that our public employees are able to organize themselves and fight for their own rights. And I think just giving some voice to that in a public space is important. And I'd like for the council to also take action to make sure that the workers are being treated fairly. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishes to address the council?
Yes, good evening once again. Charlie Cradaville, New Brunswick Today. I apologize I was late today, so I may have missed something. You have to forgive me. Did I miss the part where you responded to my unanswered questions?
The one's information that you received that same night after the last meeting, you received information about the questions that you have. The Deputy Director Miller sent you the information, so unless you have something new,
Well, there's a few questions that have been unanswered, and you'll have to forgive my frustration. It is because you and your predecessor have promised responses, but often neglect to do so, provide evasive or non-substantive responses, and then sometimes you gaslight us and act like we're the ones who are wrong. For instance, at the last meeting, I did ask, why was the last New Brunswick Housing Authority meeting canceled? I asked you during the meeting, and I asked you after the meeting, and then I emailed the executive director and asked him, and he didn't respond, and then I copied you on my response to me asking him again, and I still haven't received a response. As the liaison to the New Brunswick Housing Authority, do you know why that meeting was canceled?
And I think I responded to you. To the best of my knowledge, it was canceled because of lack of quorum. You were trying to say that in your statement before, at that meeting, that it was because of the secretary director, John Clark. But to the best of my knowledge, like I said before, it was because of the lack of quorum.
So the people...
There were enough commissioners to be able to vote.
Right. So the people that you put onto the Housing Authority were not able to get on the Zoom call. Okay, it's just I'm time limited here. You're cutting into my time when you talk.
I'm
No?
not going to answer, so I'm not going to answer anything until you're done. Go ahead.
Okay. I also asked about the New Brunswick Historical Association meeting, why they had their meeting not open to the public. And I asked Bert, he said he would get me an answer, I copied you, no answer. So you'll have to forgive me for being frustrated. I'm being promised answers and not getting them. And, you know, I have to agree that transparency around Code Blue has been very problematic. I agree that it's not the only part of the government where transparency is lacking. The police department, for instance, a department that had officers running brothels and had a creep as the commander of domestic violence. Internal Affairs has repeatedly failed to protect us from crooked cops like those. Only citizens, journalists, and higher authorities have ability to change this system because it's clear this council will not do anything to hold the police accountable. Director Tony Caputo has not been to a council meeting in more than 10 years. You're not requesting him to be, he is not here, and the people who are here are not responding to the questions that are asked. The city claims that you've reopened public buildings, but last I checked, the front door here is still locked. And when I walked in yesterday and went to the finance office to ask for Deputy Director Miller's salary, I didn't get it. And I would like you, Madam Council President, to ask Mr. Mulrine if he can tell us the Deputy Director's salary. Last we checked, it was $212,000, but I want to see if it went up. Can you please ask?
I'm not going to ask at this point, so I don't go back to your time. So.
Okay, I've been asked many times, who wrote the statement that smeared murder victim Asim Seawright and posted it to the city website? Who did that? I've asked countless times. Still, no answer. I've asked in writing, I've asked here. What do I have to do to get answers? Councilman Fleming, through the chair, any comment on the insurance fund cutting off the payments for your legal bills in your sexual harassment case?
We're not answering. Go ahead, finish your statement.
I'd like to give him a chance to respond, if you will.
We're not going to talk about that at this moment.
Okay, well, I'm glad that I got them to cut off that wasteful and wrong spending. How much have they paid so far to defend the councilman's actions? I'd like that answer.
We're not going to answer that question at this moment.
Will you answer it at the next meeting? Will you get me an answer, or will you not even attempt to find out how much money has been spent defending a private sexual harassment lawsuit for one of your colleagues?
Finish your statement, Mr. Carter.
Is it true that a vehicle was stolen from the police parking garage on Saturday? How many people does Lieutenant Pappas supervise? Has a lieutenant ever been put on the special kind of detail that Lieutenant Pappas is on, and what led to him being put on that detail? Who's the officer who was suspended for 8 days for intoxicated behavior that caused property damage? Can you answer any of my questions? You've got the deputy director here. $212,000 we're paying him, and you won't ask him?
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
We deserve so much better.
Thank you,
Council
Mr.
President, we deserve better.
As it has been stated before many times, any information that you request from the police department has to do it in writing. Many times you receive the information, it's just that you want to hear something else, or you're looking for something else. And unless you have something new. Now tonight I heard something new things that you have brought up, so I would encourage you to write an email and inquire for that information from the police department. Yes?
Brittany, sanitation worker for the city of Brunswick on Eastern Avenue. It's sad to hear that, because you guys have brought up many times about how the sanitation department has to act a certain way because we're city employees. And then I hear other city employees, they do what they want and they don't get any response for it. So they don't get anything back for it. So just to add to respond to some of the people with the concerns with the sanitation department, we are being retaliated against. 12 people called out the day after we did the strike and the protests on our own time in front of City Hall. And that Wednesday prior, I spoke to you guys and said, if you had any questions, you can come out there and ask us so we can answer in front of the news, but nobody showed up. The workers were frustrated. They must have been. I wasn't at work the next day, but they must have been frustrated because, you look them in the face and tell them they're not essential workers, and then you expect them to work while you're at home, and they, like for example, Monday, and we're the only department that was open. Everybody else got to stay home, but sanitation had to work, but we're not essential. So maybe they were pissed off about that, or was it because it was pouring, raining, and they decided to stay home? But you guys blamed me. 12 people called out, 7 people received letters. Out of the 7 people, 4 people got warnings, 3 people got suspended. I was one of the people that got suspended, and I got 10 days suspension with no pay. So of course we're going to fight that with the union, but why did I get 10 days, somebody got 2 days, somebody got 1 day, and everybody else was warned from that 7, but the other 12 were not responded to? So I just feel like you guys are picking and choosing who you want to follow the rules, and I feel like that's an intention to scare me, to stand up for myself and for my coworkers in money that we deserve. We still don't have a response to the money that you were given from federal money, state money for hazard pay, and we still haven't gotten a dime or response on what's going on with that. It's just a bunch of excuses. When we received these write-up letters, we came down here instantly to City Hall because they tried to wait 20 minutes before we were about to clock out to give us the letter so we couldn't respond. But when we come down here, we're being threatened by the higher-ups and giving messages through Mr. Julis telling us that we're past our 15-minute break and we shouldn't be down here. And we can't speak to Tom Valenti because he's on lunch. Well, the city vehicles, that's the good thing about being a sanitation driver. And just as well as you see me, I see you. You guys are always riding around doing absolutely nothing on city's time, the city's dime. But for some reason, you guys are clocking my time about a break. And for about 2 years, me working here, I never even knew we had breaks. We worked through our breaks, we worked through our lunch, and we've never complained. The only thing we've asked you is to please raise the pay because everything else is going up. Minimum wage is going up, the food is going up, but we've asked you something simple for the money that we earned during COVID. Somebody's wife was in a coma from our job for 6 to 8 months. She was pregnant, woke up, her baby was lost. We just had COVID at the job 3 weeks ago. You guys quietly let them stay home, didn't send anybody to clean the public areas down at the job, like the break room, the clock out area, the trucks. We all share the same trucks. You hired 12 or more temporary workers to work on these trucks that only accommodate 2 people on the back and 1 person driving. So now we have to figure out without city vehicles how they're all going to fit safely. But our safety doesn't matter. You're too busy being petty and trying to retaliate against me. I am not my ancestors. I am not a slave, and you're not going to treat me as such. You guys have to open your eyes until somebody gets hurt out here. Let's talk about other things. The school buses, they're flying up and down the streets with buses full of children. Let's talk about the school you're putting on Jersey Avenue. I really want to know what you guys are going to do with all the people standing in the parking lot, and not to mention how are people going to get back and forth, especially the garbage trucks with these kids going to school trying to get back and forth to that yard. That's going to be a mess. Let's talk about the emergency situation. If I'm picking up garbage downtown and you guys are allowing these people to illegally park just to get their coffee or whatever they're doing downtown, how is an ambulance gonna get through there? You guys are gonna have to bump it up with that instead of being petty towards me and making sure that things are going smoothly in the city. These guys that I work with, this is not money that they're begging you for. They've earned it. What is the issue? The contract is still not closed. We don't know what's going on. Everything is so secretive, and then when I come down to speak to you, you turn it into I'm being combative, when it's not. It's just because I'm black and you're not used to the way that I speak. I speak with authority and you don't like it.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Castaneda.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Councilmember Gaskin. Councilmember Socorro Ludwig.